Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig.
Yeah, I don't have anything for you.
You don't have a song?
I don't like.
That is so disappointing.
I was working on it, and then I just don't feel like singing it. Not like.
Dude, we won a football game.
I
like,
know,
you should
but
be like,
but I know. You know what?
You should be so excited.
But it's my daughter's birthday, and she's sick and puking, and we had to cancel her birthday. So cancel her birthday party. So I'm not in that good of a mood.
Oh, that's terrible. How are you gonna like? She was 1, right?
2. Jesus.
2.
Tough.
Oh God.
She'd be the most impressive.
That is true. She was
1-year-old.
I'm like, I did like a double check for a second. I'm like, 1 or 2? 1. All right. Well, I'm just gonna go with 1, and I'll probably. Well, yeah, that sounded stupid.
Yeah.
Good job, Jeff.
All right, but
way to go, Uncle Jeff.
But yes, we won a football game.
And we won a basketball game.
And we won a basketball game.
And we won a soccer game.
And a soccer game. And one of
and there
two
were volleyball matches.
One of 2 volleyball matches.
Yeah, one. They got one of them.
Yeah. So they didn't get the one that was the bigger one, but they did get one. But yeah, this is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Nusser. Yeah, Jeff, and Cougs laid a smackdown on Stanford and Mr. David Shaw.
Yeah, at least in terms of the final score, which is basically all we care about at this point, right? I mean, style points don't matter that much. I mean, I guess there's style points there with the margin, but you know, the game itself maybe wasn't quite as there wasn't quite the gulf between the two teams as the score might suggest, but all that matters is the win. Yeah,
I mean, they still had 114 more yards, and
true.
Finishing drives is a part of football.
Absolutely.
And so are turnovers. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
so that was cool.
I feel like any team that lets our defense take the ball away from you is pretty bad.
That's quite the indictment.
Yeah, especially with Stanford, wasn't really much. They didn't turn the ball over much.
Yeah,
but yeah, those are, you know, the second pick in for sure was a really bad one.
Yeah,
I just didn't see him.
I'm not. Yeah, I think he probably didn't see him. Was, you know, trying to force something and make something happen at that point in the game. So.
Yeah, but you said the gulf wasn't that wide, but WSU really wasn't ever threatened in this game.
Yes, that is. I mean, it was 25-22.
Yeah, and then they immediately got a kickoff return to the
which was totally wild. Yeah, like so. Yeah, that stretch was so. So since you were in the stadium, tell me, like at 25-22. Were people getting kind of nervous? Like what was the feeling at that point? Because at that point it felt like, you know, man, it feels like we're in control of this game. How are we only up by 3? Did it feel like that in the stadium too?
I don't know. I think it's just a normal level of nervousness. I was definitely, you know, a little nervous, but I think the crowd was pretty confident the offense was going to keep scoring.
Yeah.
It just didn't. And of course Stanford didn't score again after that, but yeah, that it kind of felt like the offense wasn't going to be stopped. The only time they had been stopped was a goal. You know, the only time they didn't score in the entire game was an interception at the goal line. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I truthfully was up in a suite, so I can't really give you a read on what the crowd was like.
You were rolling with the high rollers.
Yes, I was trying to avoid.
Wait, so maybe now's a good time to take a little break. Now, was that your first time up in the suite, or had you been up there before?
I've been up there before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you were
used to being treated like a very important person.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of sit. You just kind of there's like seats in the front of the suites, and I was in the front, and just I was watching the game. The weather was nice enough. You had the windows open, and it wasn't
okay.
Yeah,
that's a very important piece of it.
So you could still get the crowd noise and stuff, but people I was watching with, we were nervous, but still it didn't ever feel like they were ever going to stop the WSU offense.
Yeah.
Like they weren't even really close at any point other than an interception. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if there was only one of the 3 field goals, there was only one that I thought, it was like 4th and 10, but the other 2 were like 4th and 4, 4th and 5, I think. I was a bit surprised we didn't just go for it. Of course, we haven't been doing that this year. Just kind of wild, considering it's probably the best offense we've had under Leach, or one of the best.
But also the best kicker.
Yeah. He's still. I mean, he's not perfect on extra points anymore because we couldn't snap the fucking ball, but or because of block and then a snapped ball. But
that was weird.
Of course, when that's the sort of stuff that makes you nervous is when you're leaving a couple points on the board.
Yeah.
And then later Stanford should have had a safety when they had a big pass play. When they were pinned, there was a pretty obvious hold in the end zone.
Yep. That
the refs ignored. So you were like, get us those points back. But ultimately it didn't matter. Just the offense was cooking, man. That was fun to watch. It was just fun to watch them.
It was fun to watch.
Just move up and down the field. It's fun to watch Brandon Arconato. Show it wasn't just he wasn't just shredding those non-conference teams. Like, he's just been shredding everyone. And it's kind of a bummer that he missed 2.5 games, because he'd be well over 1,000 yards already. Because he's already at like 869. He's averaging 14 yards a catch. Man, he's putting up River Craycraft numbers in that same position. Like, it's crazy, like how well he's playing. And just to be a non-factor until this year.
Yeah, like, you probably remember this, but, back at the beginning of the season, or maybe even right before the season, one of our writers said, hey, I've got a source, and he says like that Arconato might be our best receiver. And we were like, come on.
Yeah, we were like, nah.
We were like, no. Right? And we were like, come on. No. Former walk-on, no. Not a chance. And
with the stacked group that we had
with all
back.
The other guys, you're thinking, you're like Patman, Winston, Tay Martin and Calvin Jackson and
the guy
Calvin,
the guy that was supposed to be playing in
who
his
was supposed
position.
to play, right? So it's supposed to be, Jameer Calvin's supposed to be the number 1 guy at that spot. I mean, you're just like, I mean, come on, right? Like, even, you're thinking, okay, well, if he's so great, how come he couldn't beat out Kyle Sweet last year? Because Kyle Sweet was, nothing special. So, okay. But I think you could make a case that he's been our best receiver this year. When he was out for those 2 games, Renard Bell didn't exactly light the world on fire from that spot.
Nope.
And he was the one mostly filling in there. So pretty incredible, pretty darn incredible. And I think it's probably time that, we give Arconato his due, in the sense that I think, we sort of like, I don't think we were trying to be patronizing, but I think, we were a little, not just you and me in particular, but just sort of like the fans in general, just sort of poo-pooing it and being like, well, yeah, him and Gordon have this real chemistry because they know each other so well, which is probably true. But
and also,
I think when you say stuff like that, you undersell what he's doing, don't you?
Yeah, and he's just open all the time. It doesn't take chemistry, Yeah, and he catches almost everything that is thrown his way, and he's makes big plays. He had that he busted that huge play when he cut it back and nearly scored a touchdown when he just caught like a sideline route, and just burned, like he's looking, all just exactly the athlete to match up with against the Pac-12 athletes, which always seemed like an issue for him. But he's just always open, and between him and then Winston, they're both two guys that you can't take off the field. Like everyone's like, where the heck's Patman? And like, well, I don't know. Like, you can take Winston off the field. You want to take targets away from Arconato? Like, what do you do? Like, they're being like so good. Like the two of them, they're the the top of the heap right now on the receiving core, and Arconato has just been incredible to watch. Like, he's making plays. He's not just this safety valve who's open because of the air raid. Like he runs great routes, and he just knows how to get open, and it's crazy. And I love that he's been in the last few games getting, converting that to touchdowns, because it seemed like he was the guy in the middle of the field and then someone else would score, but now he's scoring touchdowns and making, gash plays, like getting almost 15 yards a catch, 14 and a half yards a catch out of that position is what you want, but it's not always what we've been getting. And with Sweet, we weren't getting that. We weren't getting explosion, but now we're getting we have the safety valve, the third down, the second down, whatever. But also he's creating explosive plays out of that position, and it's awesome, and it's fun to watch. Between him and
when the offense,
Anthony Gordon, you have these crazy stories that make a otherwise kind of tough season like a lot more fun.
Yeah, when the offense has been at its best under Leach at WSU, Y has been the explosive receiver position,
right?
And that was mostly Craycraft. So, perhaps that is maybe a little more to do with the guys who have been there, but this is a return to that where Y is the one that has done just the chunk plays, the big damage, and the outside receivers have been kind of it's sort of a backwards way of thinking, but the outside receivers have been a little bit more of the possession receivers, and I think some of that is when you do have strong outside receivers. They do clear out a lot of that space in the middle, as safeties have to drop and cover deep, and all of a sudden it vacates all this space just behind the linebacker and in front of the safeties. And when you have a quarterback who both can make that throw and is not afraid to make that throw, you can do some serious damage. And that's what you're seeing right now with Gordon and Arconato. Arconato's he's getting open in there, but Gordon is making some really terrific throws to kind of drop it in that bucket and get it where the grass is. Yogi Roth used that. You didn't hear that, but used that phrase a whole bunch. Running to grass and getting to the green grass, and and that's largely what what Gordon has been able to do with his receivers.
Yeah, that you saw that Aesop Winston's touchdown.
Yep.
He's just running a cross route, and they lose him. And then as soon as you look and see Gordon spot him, like, that's a touchdown. Like, even though he had like 30 yards to run, and even though the Pac-12 refs couldn't figure it out without a replay, like, it was a touchdown as soon as he caught the ball, because there was just so much space. It was such a beautiful design, and Gordon just knew where he was going with it. Gordon, that for Winston's other touchdown, like, that throw was, we haven't had a quarterback to make that throw, obviously, since Connor Holiday, and I don't even know if Holiday makes that throw, man. That was insane. Like, he tried it again and it failed miserably. But that throw was crazy, like, to fit it in that window.
He ripped that.
And knowing Aesop Winston's going to catch that ball too, because he took a shot, and that was a hell of a throw. He definitely, it's funny, as his stats were amazing. We said in the preview, I said in the preview, I'm like, I'm thinking against Stanford's D, he can do 504 touchdowns, and he got 5 touchdowns and 500. But it was just, it didn't even feel like he was perfect. Like, he threw that pick. They missed a couple third and shorts that they could have picked up. Like, they could have been in the 50s and 60s, like, pretty easily. And they didn't, every single drive they had, they got inside the Stanford 30. So, like, every single drive. And that includes a couple back-to-back 96-plus yard drives. Like, they were just moving the ball, like, wherever they could. and it was crazy to watch. Like, but I think Gordon kind of stood in the pocket a little long a couple times. I just kind of took some I call them Fox, like sacks.
Where you just stand there waiting for something to open up, and then eventually you get crushed.
But he also made that when he spun out of that sack and then threw that sideline throw, and Arconado made a great, that toe dragging catch that was overturned and for a catch. Like that was a hell of a play, Like he's a little more athletic than he looks. Like he's not fast, but and a little stronger than he looks, to throw a D end off of him like that, that was impressive. And so, he had a hell of a game. Stanford's defense, or their secondary, was as bad as one can imagine. As bad as advertised. Yeah, like they were not good. There was just open guys. And I love that we have a quarterback this year that just can, if you give him that, he'll take it and he'll shred you. Yeah. Because hasn't always happened. But yeah, so it was incredible. Like 625 yards, man. Jesus. Like if Borgie ran for 100.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was happy at the end of this one, right?
Oh yeah. Besides maybe
it had to be.
Besides maybe the extra point team.
Maybe that. Yeah. That was bizarre. I'm not real up on my my football rules, and this is a pretty obscure one, but I was under the impression that you couldn't just run over the snapper. Like,
yeah, I didn't think so either.
And they did it twice, and so I don't know if I'm misguided or was missing something, or if just the refs just missed it twice. I honestly am not sure. But both times, the snapper really got run over, and that's how the guy got through right up the middle. So I mean, I don't know. It seems like any team could do that pretty much every time. So I know they're not allowed to line up over the center, but I also think they're not allowed to go directly through the center either. So either way, sort of frustrating and annoying, but Maz is still perfect on the field goals, and which is remarkable too. I mean, there's nothing that feels fluky about it at all, right?
Yeah, they're all not like he's nails, man.
Yeah, he's not like sneaking them through. They're not like knuckling and kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, they're all very pretty end over end. Yeah, good high arcing kicks.
Yeah, it's wild to have that, and I guess the upside, is that he never misses. The downside is that Leach is like, well, this is like a guaranteed 3 points if I go ahead and let him kick, which is sort of annoying, but yeah, whatever. It's fine. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's really cost us a game necessarily, but I mean, I guess there's a couple where you could argue, probably should have gone for it, but.
But yeah, I one thing though, Dragicevic obviously didn't get a punt, but he did get to kick the ball once.
He did get to kick the ball.
Very smart play. By the way, I said Maza on Twitter because I couldn't tell who it was that did it, but that was a very smart play. I thought there was going to be like a penalty on the kickoff or something. That was like a no-brainer to do that. Like it was only a loss of down. So
if you can pull it off, though, that's the thing. So like
man,
Ted Robinson,
he looked very skilled. Like he looked like a soccer player. Though. Like
So his dad, right, former MLS player,
right,
MLS soccer player. And he's obviously a former soccer player.
Yeah.
Because when you watched him kick that thing, I mean, he was like a striker on a half volley.
Yep,
like
absolutely.
He was, toe pointed straight down, making sure to stay on top of it.
Yeah, it looked very smooth. Like he had practiced that many times before.
And that was the thing. Like Ted Robinson was like, well, I can't believe that. They really got to close that loophole in the rule book. And I'm like, oh yeah, because that's what we need is another like rule, right?
What? Yeah. What's the loophole? Who cares?
Like the loophole is that you can kick it and it's just the try is no good. Like that's
so that comes into play. So this
one time that happens once every 10 years or whatever it is, like we got to close that loophole. But the larger point was that he's number one, like this never happens. But number two, it's like not everybody can do what he just did.
Oh, we've seen kickers try and like fall on their ass.
And I've seen professional soccer players do that.
Try a half volley.
Yeah, you see defenders, try that stuff, and it's like they can't. It's like we watched Roman Torres, who, for people who don't, follow soccer, he plays center back for the Sounders. Like, he's a large defender, and he tried to kind of do a similar thing to that early in the MLS Cup, and skied it right over the goal.
Yep.
It's very easy to pop that sucker straight up when you're trying to do that, and he just stayed right on top of it and sent it flying right out of bounds. I thought that might have, to be honest, that might have been the most impressive thing that happened during the game.
Yeah. I think that it was really impressive, and it made you feel a little better. It was going to be pretty wild if we're going to start 2 games in a row 6-2. It was looking like that for a second, but he saved us. Overall, the special teams, those 2 botched extra points suck, but special teams have been great this year, and Harris is part of that. He's a consistently good kick returner. He gets extra yardage on every. You just see him get in yards that other returners don't get, and then he's got speed but just a great return to. Really, when they needed it, like we mentioned earlier, it was 25-22.
It really turned the game.
It was all WC from there. But yeah, this game. Yeah, I was
gonna say you get the touchdown there, and then the turnover, and then another touchdown. I think is how it went, right?
Yeah,
or something close to that. So yeah, a game. I remember, in Slack when we were kind of chatting about it as the once we went up. Whatever it was, 42-22. I was just like, wasn't this game like 25-22 about like a minute ago?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, and when I went and finally looked at the times as I was writing the recap, it actually did span more game time than I sort of realized in the moment, but still it really did feel like it was just like a minute ago that it was really close. And then all of a sudden, they had blown it wide open up to a 20-point margin. So, yeah, they did a thing on Saturday that they, in a lot of ways have not done this year, which is take advantage of opportunities and really maximize the good stuff that happens.
Right.
I think there was probably no better example of that than their proficiency on third down. That's obviously been a little bit of a bugaboo all year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little bit, I'm not you and I are both, sort of analytic minded and stat minded. And, I don't think, you look at so correct me if I'm wrong, because you look at these stats a little bit more than I do, but it didn't seem like, even though we weren't really good on third down, I don't think we were having more sort of long passing downs on third down.
No, we're doing. Yeah, we have.
Right, we've been third and manageable pretty regularly.
I think WSU is top 10 nationally in success rate on first and second down.
Yeah.
So
right. So third down's like not. It's not like we're constantly. A lot of times bad third down percentage is a function of constantly being in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 kind of situations. That hasn't really been the case with us. And so my tendency has kind of been to say we've just, and again, this is, this keeps coming back and I know people don't always like this, but, my tendency has been to think like we've just kind of gotten a little like unlucky, a victim of randomness in some way where it's just been bad timing. We've been okay on first and second, and for some reason third just has not worked as well. And, I don't know that it's anything that I don't think we have special third down plays, right? It's, I don't think there's really anything to be read too much into it other than maybe bad sequencing. And so, to see it maybe come back around in this one and maybe that'll happen down the stretch, was pretty nice, to see what can happen when, the sequencing isn't bad. And, you can get, the yards that you need on third down and really just, keep the pressure on the defense throughout. So really cool that way. And, and then just, getting a couple turnovers and, making the most out of that and getting a kick return at just the right time. I don't know. There was just a lot of stuff in this game that kind of finally fell into place at the right time.
Yeah.
And, that's how you end up with a, big, 49-22 score, even when the other team is averaging, a yard per play more than you are.
Yeah. And obviously the defense got shredded overall. The final score looks good. Because tip of the hat to David Shaw for sticking to his guns, even though he doesn't have the team with the great defense and the incredible offensive weapons, or they're like the Heisman candidates to save him. So he starts off their very first drive, punts from the WSU 34 on a 3rd and 9, like and then WSU.
Like, what are you doing?
Like, thanks. Yeah, terrible field position. Yeah, WSU will just go 96 yards and score a touchdown. It's fine. Yeah, then they punt from the WSU 44 on the next drive on a 4th and 5.
It was 4th and 4, right? Or 4th and 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, man? Like, he's helping us out.
What he does, though.
Like, this is a defense that has given up long and short 3rd and 4th downs constantly, and so they so they start right off the bat, and they're in this huge hole because David Shaw just refuses to go for it, like, ever. Like, it's just
he refuses to recognize that he does not have his defense of 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
It's sort of bizarre, and you've also got this offense that is throwing the ball. I granted at that point they weren't necessarily throwing the ball all over the yard, but
and what they did,
our defense is trash, and you're sitting there going, it's like the math. Like, this is the thing. Like, okay, you're David Shaw. You're supposed to be so smart, right? You're supposed to be so smart. So kicking from the 35, it doesn't even. I guarantee he went, well, we've got to gain 9 yards. Oh my gosh. Right? It's like
your quarterback who is 9 of 11 for 221 in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, and so
if we have to get 9 yards.
Or, on the second one, we've got to gain 4 yards. 4 yards isn't that much, but if we don't get it, they'll be getting it around midfield. It's like, I just, like, I'll never I'm sure that, there's a win probability calculator out there that would show that, it does not matter how much, how deep you pin them, on either of those, that going for, like, punting is not going to actually gain you, win probability by punting.
Right.
Like, you're not going to actually increase your chances of winning at that point. And you've got this, they're so smart, they're Stanford, and then to just sort of ignore what the numbers would say is actually beneficial to winning is just, it's very fitting for David Shaw, because how many times have we just sort of, like, screamed in frustration watching David Shaw make these just asinine decisions and get away with it. Right.
Yep.
I mean, that happened, 2015, right?
Right.
Like, that game, and 2014 too, if I remember right, but 2015 for sure, which was when, which was the McCaffrey game, and they kicked a field goal right at the, at the end. And it was just like, Shaw was so conservative, and you're like, you deserve to pay for this. And he just, for so long didn't.
Right.
And, now it's finally.
Well, and then the end of the first half, what the hell was he doing?
Right.
They get 21 yards on the first play, and he just doesn't call timeout.
Right.
Like, you're at midfield
so
after one play.
I get it that
midfield,
you're like, the clock stopped. Yeah.
Midfield, and you have 20 seconds left, and you're just like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, man? And it's funny.
Like, if you could snap the ball with, like, only losing 2 seconds, then okay. But they didn't. Like, another, 15 seconds ran off the clock. It was utterly bizarre.
Yeah. And then WC took a timeout for some reason. That was a weird sequence. Yeah, so first half it's 22-14. You're kind of like, yeah, this is probably, but it's exactly the things that we wanted to happen. They're happening. So they've stalled in scoring opportunities. already, and then and WSU has cashed in except for one interception, but has cashed in every other drive. And then they come out the second half, and obviously they from a 4th and 3 on the WSU 21, even though their defense hasn't stopped WSU at all, decide to kick a field goal with their backup kicker. And the football gods chuckled, and that thing went way wide.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I don't know. And then I know they got it close after that, but there's so many drives in here. You look and you're just like, David, what were you doing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so yeah, and honestly, but like I said, at least 2 of our field goals, I felt like we could have benefited from going for it as well. So I don't know. It's a wild, like, it is a wild game. Like, it didn't feel like we. I mean, when you run away at the end, it does give you more, like, it makes you feel good, because it's fun to, like, score touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and
Yeah.
But it's still, yeah, like, it was just close, and then it wasn't, and then, like, okay, cool, like, we just blew them out.
Yeah,
beat them.
It was really nice.
4 years in a row. So
yeah.
That's one streak that gets to keep going this year.
I did not see if David Shaw cried.
Yeah, I hope he did. I think Max Borghi now has 4 touchdowns against Stanford.
Yeah. And they wanted him so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, and the funny thing is we probably could have put another touchdown on the board at the end.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that Mike Leach must like David Shaw, because to send your team on the field with
2:07,
2 minutes to go and not try to score, that was very, very not Mike Leach, right?
Not
like
Mike
you
Leach,
would have expected Trey Tinsley to be out there trying to throw the ball, and to have him not throwing the ball was pretty surprising. To go out there and do 3 kneel downs that required not just kneeling down, but actually, like, moving a little bit, right?
Right.
To run off just a tiny bit of clock.
Yep.
So that you could get under the time limit. So yeah, it's it does not make me it does not make me sad to see us kick the crap out of Stanford, like, and watch intellectual brutality get its comeuppance.
Yes. But yeah, here they are, 5-5 now.
Yeah.
Got the bowl coming up on Saturday.
I like that. We should have T-shirts.
Yeah, the bowl.
The bowl.
Or because Oregon State.
Because neither team's winning their last game of the year.
I think both teams are probably seeing this one as their opportunity. So I was really hoping for Oregon State to lose. We were watching after our game. I was like, I don't want them to care. But now it's stressful. And it's 5-5, and Max Borghi has guaranteed a win.
I know. Your reaction had to be the same as mine, right? Which was, oh God.
Like, stop it.
Max.
Come
on.
But yeah.
Well, and it's one thing if Gordo had done it, I'd be like, okay, all right, let's go, right? Like, because he's gonna throw the ball 60 times, like,
right.
He's gonna have a huge influence, like Max is gonna have 15 to 20 touches to come good on that thing, and he's highly reliant on what other people do in order for that to work, right? Like it's not, he's not just gonna, go truck a bunch of people. I mean, he will maybe try to truck a bunch of people, but if the offensive line doesn't do its job, and if he doesn't get passes from Gordon when there's space around him, like, I don't know, man. I mean, good for him. I don't know. Like how do you feel about the idea that that a team that maybe has lacked leadership to some degree, or lacked someone to say, hey, climb on my back and follow me, that maybe this could be, the sort of thing that inspires versus makes them tight.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like the notion, and I like that our players are confident. I mean, but then you go like, you're 5-5, so relax. But yeah, and like Max, it's not just your side of the ball that plays,
Right.
because I fully expect them to score at will against Oregon State, but Oregon State's offense is pretty damn good too.
Right.
So,
I mean, Max could have like the biggest game ever. He could gain, 200 yards from scrimmage, have like 3 or 4 touchdowns, and we could lose, 55-52.
right.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll get into that on Friday, but yeah, I mean, it sets up a exciting game that no one's going to be at in Pullman.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
I even heard a rumor that Brian Floyd was going to be there.
Whoa. I'm bringing Amanda and Amanda's brother and his girlfriend. So we're getting extra seat butts in the seats.
Yeah, and are you bringing B also?
No, she is. She's staying with the grandparents in Yakima.
That is an adult weekend.
It is. Well, one night. We'll get it on Saturday,
well,
but
one night's good.
well, that's all Amanda will give up. She's got a CB every day.
We're bringing all the children. Woo-hoo.
All right, so
yeah, it's going to be a party. You won't be seeing me at the bars.
Yeah, I'll be at the bar. Yeah, we were thinking more less tailgating, more bars and field house type of day.
Yeah.
Just I think Amanda's wanted to do that, and I'm always like, let's go sit at the tailgate.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But yeah, there will be no students there, which sucks.
No, there will not be.
Because they were bringing some good noise, all the dads.
Yeah, they looked like they did a good job, and after halftime, it was still pretty good in there, which was nice to see. That's probably all the dads like looking at their kids, going, "What do you mean we're leaving? We're not going anywhere. The game's not over yet."
I paid X amount of dollars for this ticket.
That's right. I paid for this ticket. This game's not over. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's still cleared out a little bit. Like, it was definitely not full after halftime.
Those were the kids who didn't have dads there. That's what that was.
Yeah, jerks. But yeah, it's big dad energy, as Brian Anderson coined. Because we had some good noise.
I love that.
At times. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. These kids just are, all they know is beating Stanford, and they don't know that Stanford used to beat the crap out of us.
They don't remember those days.
Yeah.
They do not remember.
They don't remember. Come on, they got to know like how popcorn guy originated. Jesus.
I know.
Man. Yeah. So great win. Always fun to talk about a win. 5-5, Bull Hopes still alive. Just have those pesky Beavs in the way, and I really want that win.
Yeah, we need that win because we definitely don't want to be going to the Apple Cup.
5-6,
wanting that win.
Yeah, that would be rough
for sure. For people who care about such things, by the way, the game opened at WSU minus 15.5. And any you want to guess what it's down to now?
Nope. 12.
12.5.
Nope. Well, we all laughed last week.
That is true. And I do think
they all laughed at the Colorado one too.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week, where when we were previewing the game, that it had been forever since we'd been at home.
Yeah, and they've beaten the spread 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah, and they've played well at home. They've played really well at home.
Yeah, except for 20 minutes.
Well, except for 20 minutes. But other than that, they've played really, really well at home. So it's maybe they're just that kind of a team. I mean, they do seem a little bit, a little bit immature, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a squad, and inconsistent, and having, as we talked about last week, we mentioned sort of how yeah, I mean, they've got the same number of road games as any other year where they have, the odd schedule, but the way it was set up this year just did not do them really any favors, and maybe made them look worse than they really are, just because we didn't have, the home games sprinkled in to kind of break it up a little bit. So, I mean, they played again, the last 2 home games, they beat the crap out of Colorado, they beat the crap out of Stanford, and, Oregon State, while they've got, an offense that, can be scary, their defense is not good. And, they are remarkably similar to what Colorado was when Colorado came in. Right. Maybe a little better on offense than what Colorado was doing, but pretty similar. And we really didn't have any troubles there. So, on the one hand, I want to go, oh my God, I can't imagine us, winning by 2 touchdowns. On the other hand, like I thought that against Stanford, and then, we handled them easily. So yeah, it's, if anything, it should be fun. Hopefully they, the team isn't let down a little bit by, 0 students being there. But I do know that with it being senior day, I'm hoping that it's pretty loud from the alumni, and they're going to honor Tyler Helinski as part of that senior class, and so I hope that it's incredibly loud at that point, and I'm hoping we can kind of do the 3 fingers thing at the beginning of the third quarter, kind of all that jazz. So. I'm hopeful that the team will bring it, and we will secure bowl eligibility before we travel over the mountains for a guaranteed loss.
I'm hopeful that one year the conference can figure out that.
Oh my God!
We are the only fucking school that take the whole week off for Thanksgiving.
So
just don't schedule us a game on that Saturday, especially when we only play one home game in October. Obviously, there was space to put one in.
Yeah.
Why do they? It seems like almost every year we have a game.
This happens in basketball too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like every year we start the basketball season with home games, and it's like our students are still on break. You dipshits! Like, why can't you figure this out? Why can't this be a thing that you take into consideration?
Well, yeah.
It's silly.
You want this game on your network to look empty and have no energy and which is a big game definitely a really big game for Oregon State's program, big game for us.
Yeah.
To be able to reach a bowl in a down year.
It should be a pretty entertaining game.
Yeah, it definitely should be. But the student section is going to be empty, and it's not going to have the same energy that a Q game usually does, because it's 6, and plus they could have given us a 1:00 start, and they put us at 6, so they could give the big game the 1:00 start.
Yep.
Which that game has, not, probably I know it's Cal Stanford, but, I don't know. That's going to be ugly. And
nobody in the Bay Area cares about college sports.
Yeah. And particularly Stanford.
That's like the worst college sports area in the country.
Yeah.
Other than maybe like New York.
Yeah. Just because, New York doesn't have any teams.
Right. The Northeast is pretty terrible too. But it's like the Bay Area is horrendous. Like they don't care at all.
Yeah, but at least in the Northeast, you're like, there's not a lot of major teams.
Right.
But you have 2 Pac-12 programs right there.
Right.
And
cares.
Stanford remodeled their stadium and took 30,000 seats out of it. They were dominant for years. Like one of the best programs, if not the best program on the West Coast, and they were still struggling to get people to go to the games.
And it's a nice stadium now.
Yeah,
it's I've been there. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's not luxurious or anything, but it's like a nice place to watch a game. When that place is full, like the way it's set up, it's actually quite loud because it does, even though it only holds 50,000 or whatever. It encircles the entire field.
Right.
On all sides with two levels. It can get pretty loud if there were people there, but there aren't. So
yeah, but yeah, the Pac-12 just screwed us royally for this game for attendance.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
So thanks for that, but we'll be there, and we'll cheer extra loud.
I will.
Yeah.
My children will cheer loud.
Right now, the weather forecast is looking good. It's just cold, but no precipitation. So
yeah, we can deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I could deal with cold. That's fine. Just don't rain on me, please. Don't snow on me.
That's pretty much it. Since I'm dealing with children, that's kind of the other.
Well, yeah, and a 6:00 start with all your kids is probably going to be rough.
Better than 7 or 7:30.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all I gotta say. Better than 7 or 7:30.
Yeah. All right. Well, beat Stanford. That was awesome.
Yes.
Football is happy again. But let's take a break and talk about some basketball.
Sounds good. And we're back.
We're back. I felt that was an awkwardly long pause. I feel like you were waiting for me to say,
no.
And we're back.
I was just kind of, just figured I'd let it go for a while.
So I just have to mention my beer I'm drinking real quick, because it's Bee's birthday, as I said, and we didn't get to celebrate today because she was sick. But I did. I'm drinking a Driefontein beer. That's a Belgian Lambic brewery, which they have the big threes on their bottles, which I've shared those before a lot. But anyways, this one is Cuvée Armand and Gaston Gouze, and it's made with honey. And whenever Driefontein uses honey in their beer, which is more to like dry it out, give it a more like drier, gives it a fermentable sugar to dry it, like that dries out the mouthfeel and stuff. It's not really, doesn't taste like honey. But they always put a bee on the label. And so it's got a little bee on the label. So that's like my little bee for Bee's birthday. So happy birthday, Bee. I know you're a loyal listener. But yeah, so basketball, we are 3 games in.
Yeah.
Had 2 games since we last talked about it. One not so good. One pretty good. What are your thoughts right now after Santa Clara and Idaho State?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think that, when the season started, I think we thought, okay, if they were 2-1 after these first 3 games, we'd be feeling pretty good about that. Because I think we figured the first 2 games were going to be relatively tough and not, not hard. I mean, I don't know that, you look at Seattle U and Santa Clara as being, super hard, but it's like, Santa Clara and Seattle U were both projected to be, top 100-ish, teams heading into the year. So you figure, okay, a team that's been, the Cougars have been ranked around 200, for the last however many years, so if they could figure out a way to, be decent enough to win one of those 2 games, that's pretty good as long as they, look okay doing it. And, sure enough, they opened against Seattle U and looked fantastic. And then they play Santa Clara and looked less fantastic, particularly in the second half. And then, you come home, play Idaho State, which is, a terrible Big Sky team, and, take care of business there. It was never, I think, the blowout that maybe people would have hoped for. But, it also was never really close in the sense that, I think it only got as close as 7 points in the second half. Like that was as close as Idaho State could get, and I think Ken Pom never measured the win probability below 93%. So, it never really felt like Idaho State was actually in it.
Yeah, they never really. I don't think they were ever really were within 2 possessions even in the second half.
No, they weren't within 2 possessions in the second half. It was always 3 or more. So you feel good about that, and. Definitely still a work in progress, particularly on offense. But, you do see some interesting things defensively, and there's definitely some things in there where you're like, yeah, that's going to be an issue, throughout the season.
Well, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the defense, well under a point per possession every game. There's, I think one thing that's been a little disappointing given the emphasis on it so far has been the rebounding, on the defensive rebounding.
Yeah.
Idaho State was, every game they've not finished particularly well, in that. So, That's something I get. They were pretty good against Seattle, but the last two have been a challenge. We definitely saw against Santa Clara that they had quite a bit of size, and that gave the Cougs a lot of trouble. So that's something that could be an issue going forward, because Santa Clara, I mean, they're a pretty big team, like by any conference's standard, but they had, but the problem, like, their bigs were good, like they had good bigs. The offense, it's really the 3-point shooting has been awful, particularly from Isaac Bonton. Like, 1 of 16 to start the year.
Yes, that's very bad.
I expect that to regress to, he seems more like of a 35% guy, just from looking at his shot and the confidence with which he shoots. So you think he's got to be a good shooter, right?
Yeah, like that's the presumption, that he ought to be able to do that.
It took him. I think it was his 14th or try today. It was his 14th three of the year, and he's shooting when he's in the game. He's shooting more than anyone. Like, he's our most high volume shooter so far, even more than Ellaby. And he's got some. His offensive rating is seriously hampered by his 3-point shooting. If he was even at 4 of 16 right now, I think he'd be around a little over 100. Yeah. But I definitely expect him. He'll have some game where he'll go like 5 of 6, and it'll even out. But like Ellaby hasn't been shooting it particularly well from 3 after that first game. I guess today was like 2 of 4. I mean, Ellaby, what we saw against Santa Clara is if Ellaby is off, the offense has no chance.
Yeah. They looked a little better today in terms of, just a little better flow in the half court. They were definitely, again, trying to get out quick. And, one interesting thing about that allowed them to do that was that they once again forced a ton of turnovers. And so it's pretty obvious at this point that is an active strategy, which is surprising, because that's not something that Kyle Smith has been, has typically done his teams. In fact, I noted on the recap that I wrote that the most his team has ever forced in terms of turnovers on a season is about 20%. And they're at about 25% right now. So, he had a Columbia team that was forcing turnovers on about 1 out of every 5 possessions. Right now we're forcing them on 1 out of about every 4. So that's a really significant difference and a little bit surprising, but, so I kind of theorize and I kind of maybe wonder what you think about this, but, my theory was a couple things. One was that, just from a defensive standpoint, they're not real big. And so, they don't do a great job protecting the rim because of that, and then they also, are having trouble rebounding. They dominated Seattle U on the glass, but really struggled against Santa Clara with their height, and then today, struggled a bit with not that
there's more guards getting.
Yeah, and they're just very, very active. So Idaho State was really, purposing to get after the offensive glass. And they had some dudes who were, not super tall, but quite long. Oh. They were 6'8", but had, pretty long arms. And so they get their hands on a lot of balls. And, I think
there's, I think Idaho State's really well coached. I think they made a really good hire with Looney. I really like what he's doing.
I think they're a little better than what their Ken Palm says right now, just from watching them. They do have, I don't remember who it is now, but they had Air Force. They had a pretty nice win over Air Force.
Yeah. Well, the kid, because that kid, Tariq Cool, went up for 41 in that game.
Yeah, and he did not go
Didn't do anything against us.
But, that's a nice win, over Air Force. And, They had a game against Wyoming where they just did not score at all, and you have to kind of think maybe that's a little, unfortunate, but, we'll see a little bit about they got Santa Clara. Be interesting to see what they do against Santa Clara, but
and I think another
they do look like an offensively challenged team.
The one encouraging thing is we know that Smith is emphasizing taking away 3-pointers, and they had Idaho State to come in shooting like it was over 51% of their shots were threes.
Yep,
and they were definitely not that. They were definitely high. It was 21 of their 53 shots, so they were more of 40%. But that's
high for us, but really low for them.
Yeah. So so it definitely worked. But it's funny, they emphasize the same thing. I could tell from it seems like their coach. That's why I have the feeling this Ryan Looney guy is a good coach because they are shooting a lot of threes on offense and emphasizing limiting threes on defense. And you'd think you would see coaches that wanted, and Kyle Smith is a coach that does this, wants to emphasize the same things on offense and defense. But you just don't see coaches do that often.
No, we watched a coach for the last 5 years not do that at all. It was utterly bizarre watching Ernie. Yes, the three is our secret weapon, and let's just let the other team shoot all the threes, or turning the ball over, right? So watching us now, with the turnovers, it's these two things do go hand in hand, right? Where, on offense, we're taking care of the ball, and the emphasis is on taking care of the ball and not giving away empty possessions. And then on the other end, we're let's pile up as many empty possessions as possible.
Oh yeah, so, and did you see the little small new toy we have on KenPom.com?
I did not. What did I miss?
Non-steal turnover percentage.
Oh, that's so huge. Yeah. That's so okay. So explain why that's so huge. Because when we watch a broadcast, it's always points off turnovers, and I'm that tells you nothing.
Exactly. So when people think points off turnovers, they're thinking get out into the break, you're getting an easy layup. Because I think people generally, when they think of points off turnovers, they're thinking a steal and a quick bucket. But the problem is points off turnovers is measured no matter the type of turnover. So if it's an out-of-bounds play and a team runs a normal offensive set and hits a three, they get 3 points off turnovers, even though that turnover didn't impact the flow of the game offensively. But a non-steal, if you take out, so the types of turnovers that do end up in fast break points are steals, and not pretty much only steals. Yep. I love that he's now parsed out steal turnover percentage and then non-steal turnover percentage, and so WSU, one thing you can see they're not killing themselves when they're on offense. Already they have the 4th best turnover percentage in the country, but they also have the 4th best non-steal turnover percentage. Right. So they're not throwing the ball away and all that. But they're
not throwing the ball. They're not throwing the ball away,
and they're
especially
not offensive fouls
into the other team.
Yeah, they're not throwing into the other team.
What you want.
And then so for non-steal turnover percentage, WSU's only on defense only 140th in non-steal turnover percentage. So the other teams aren't, they're not getting a lot of turnovers off of, charges, throwing the ball out of bounds,
right?
Things like that. But they are 31st in steal percentage. So WSU stealing the ball, and exactly like you said, this is not what I expected. Since I'm already looking at another trend, they're giving up only 24% on threes. They have the 57th lowest rate of 3-point attempts through field goal attempts allowed. So these are honestly everything that Kyle said, aside from the rebounding, and that might be more of a personnel thing than anything. I'm a bit disappointed that Jalen Shedd hasn't been the rebounder that we thought he could be. Bonton's been a good rebounder from the guard spot. Ellaby's doing his thing. about what you would expect from it. I mean, not as big as last year. Pollard's ticked up a little bit, but he still isn't that consistent with it. But
Right.
yeah, and Noah Williams, but he didn't play today.
Yeah, coach's decision.
Yep, coach's decision. Yeah, Smith
Someone got in the doghouse this week.
So Smith said to Chaz after the game, Matt Chazno, the play-by-play, he said that it was a funny thing. He said, "Yeah, it was a coach's decision. Basically, we're gonna tighten up the rotation before we expand it." He's like, and he said, "Yeah, and this is only going to make sense to the coaches and no one else." I was like, "Yeah, you're right, coach. That doesn't make any sense to me."
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
But yeah, I don't know. I think Deion James hasn't been a good rebounder when he's been in. Marvin Cannon is not rebounding like he was last year. A lot of this could be scheme, but so that's and then Kuntz is, he's basically playing the 4, but he's not really big. So
right.
on 198, 200 pounds basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's I hope that maybe that's rebounding is just something that's going to take a second to figure out, because right now it's not been that encouraging the last couple games.
I just think they're small.
Yeah.
I really do. Like I don't.
But Idaho State is small, so I don't.
Yeah, but they were long though. They were like they got their hands on so many balls, and they really crash hard. So I think there was an element of that. I do think somewhat today there was to me, just watch it, there was a little bit of an effort piece. Idaho State was just sort of scrapping in a way that maybe we weren't in that first game against Seattle U. But I think the turnovers are part of that too. Look, the best way to make sure you don't give up an offensive rebound is don't let them get off a shot, right? Like, there's
right.
that. And then I also think that there's an offensive element to that too. You see, you reference the steal percentage, real high steal percentage. Those are the ones that lead to easy buckets going the other way. This offense is not, it's going to struggle if it's forced to play in the half court against a decent defense. And so, the more they can trigger fast breaks, the more they can get early offense, I think the better. And I do think they're a better 3-point shooting team than what they've been now. Dick Au made a big to-do about an early, 3-point shot that they had, and, whatever. I mean, Dick Au has this amazingly condescending way of being an analyst.
Well, yeah,
he kind of shakes his head and waves his finger.
Bonton's not going to go 1 for 16 the entire year.
No,
Ellaby's better. But Ellaby's better than a 33% shooter.
Yep.
Like it's
they're not gonna continue to shoot 26% from 3.
Yeah.
On the season.
I mean, and a lot of that is driven by Bonton. Like it is like he's taken 16 shots and he's made 1. Like that's a lot of it right there.
Yeah.
Maybe Jeff Pollard doesn't need to shoot as many as he does, but it's
yes, I would like to see him take a little bit of a step.
You know who leads the team in 3-point percentage right now? Jalen Shedd's 2 for 2, but other than that, anyone's taken more than 5.
Yeah, Gervais Robinson.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but he's
we might be getting a lot more of him too.
Because he actually Smith talked about him after the game. He plays. Gervais is in because they want a ball handler, and he plays solid defense, and so.
Yep.
But he is.
And that's where the priority is right now, and I get that. I do understand that. So.
He is 3 of 13 on 2-pointers.
Yeah, it's annoying to watch though. He's so bad offensively.
Yeah.
Like he's so bad offensively. But he handles the ball, he doesn't turn it over.
He just doesn't finish drives. He pulls up. And he's not a good shooter, which is frustrating.
No, he's a terrible shooter. And so like watching him do that is just so like it's very, very irritating, but I understand. Like it's, I never understood when he was playing for Ernie, because I'm like, you don't care about defense and you only care about shooting, and so why is he playing? But now I get it, and he doesn't bring really much of anything offensively at all, but he is, he doesn't turn
give
the ball over,
away.
and he's pretty sound defensively. He's pretty strong. I like those things about his game, and hopefully Noah Williams can work his way back into the rotation and do some stuff because we kind of need him.
Yeah, and we need to make some damn shots.
That too.
I've early, they really they clamped down defensively in the second half against Santa Clara, but they just couldn't make a shot. So they couldn't get back in the game once Santa Clara pushed it out to 10.
And Santa Clara had a lot to do with that too.
Oh, of course, but I mean,
Santa Clara's defense was really good in that game.
Yeah. I mean, and they were long. They're 6'11", 6'9", 6'8" on the floor all at once.
We just couldn't get anywhere near the basket. Like that was the problem. Like we couldn't drive. We couldn't really get a step on them. We couldn't find open shots. I mean, they were just bothering every shot in the second half. And so, it was a good learning experience. I mean, that, they figured some things out, I think, today. Not that Idaho State is anything close to Santa Clara, but they look like they're starting to get a little more comfortable with each other on offense. Kind of figuring out what each person's going to do, and then as if they do really start to tighten up the rotation, guys will start to get more used to playing with, certain guys, and things will get a little more smooth that way. So I feel good about it. I mean, you feel good about where they're at right now? Yeah,
I definitely think it's improved. It's definitely not as the Seattle U game was so exciting, because it was just like everything went right, and it was exactly what we wanted, and then of course we've gotten a little bit of a reality check, I think, in the next two games, that things aren't going to go so perfectly all the time, but yeah, that they could be in worse shape, and I definitely think without a coaching change we could be 0-3 right now, but yeah, I think 2-1. Got Nebraska Omaha, which is a school, coming up. They're not good, but they're not they're better they're better than Idaho State, quite a bit better. They're not big, which is good, and they have. I think we'll probably do pretty well defensively against them, because what they do best is they don't shoot very many threes, but that's also the thing they do best. And they don't attack the glass like Idaho State does. They don't really try for that. They don't get to the free throw line. I think they could have a really good defensive game on Thursday. And really that's what you're hoping for, and then just make enough shots on the other end to win.
Yeah, and one other kind of little maybe piece of good news, the parts of the schedule where we were like, that's going to be kind of tough, maybe aren't looking quite as tough as we thought maybe they would. Coming on the heels of Nebraska Omaha, we go to the Cayman Islands and play Nebraska, and we were like, okay, well, Nebraska should be pretty decent, and actually it looks like they're not good so far. Fred Hoiberg's first team there looking not good, and then New Mexico State maybe not quite as good as we thought. So,
right,
kind of.
And then we have a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah, but I mean, we do have
those three Christmas break games. Number 342, Florida A&M. Number 347, Incarnate Word. Number 341, Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, and then we do get a little bit of a soft landing with Pac-12 play. You got USC. USC's not bad. USC's pretty good, but UCLA is, so-so. Cal is, really not that good, and Stanford's really not that good. So, maybe if you dare to dream, maybe you come out of that, 2-2. I mean, if they go through this conference season, you figure maybe they lose a couple more games, right? I think that's the hope, right? Maybe
non-conference,
lose 2 games in non-conference, and then you go into conference and you lose. Maybe you go 2-2 over the first 4. All of a sudden at that point you're, I don't know, whatever, 13-5 or something, and you're like, all right, this is pretty cool. You can get behind that, and hopefully our fans maybe get a little excited at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Basketball, football, soccer, volleyball.
Yeah, soccer's going to play Friday out at Virginia in the Tony Bennett revenge game.
Yep.
Make them pay, Morgan Weaver.
Every year they win their first round and then they fly east every single year, it seems.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll be a tough one.
Yes.
UVA is good.
Yes, it will.
But yeah, awesome program getting to the second round again. And volleyball will be, I don't know when their selection should be coming up.
Yeah, I think they have one more week of games,
and then
I think the tournament selections after next
week.
Weekend.
They'll make the tournament. In a season where they had 13 freshmen, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So yeah,
pretty awesome. Sports, everyone,
get on board.
Sports. Yeah.
All
right. Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
We are good.
We'll be back. We're back on Friday with our Beavs preview, and you got Michael Preston's Kooks and Around coming at you in the middle of the week, and be sure to like and subscribe, and rate 5 stars and all of that good stuff, so you can just get it delivered, and we get the download. We get the credit for that, and everyone's happy.
We sure do like that.
We do like it. So, yeah. All right, man. Go Cougs.
Perfect.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.